Eddie's, Sergeant. Have a seat. You want some coffee, son? It's fresh. Yeah, well, as fresh as it gets around here.
Yes, sir. I haven't had a good cup of coffee in 3-4 days now. It smells great. Thank you, sir.
Name and rank?
Sergeant Joe Hartsock, sir. Well, everyone calls me Red. So how long is this gonna take? Sir, I'd just like to get back to my men.
Second?
Sir?
You and your men are in second squad, correct?
Oh, yes, sir. Second took heavy losses in quarantine. I was with third at the time.
Under Sergeant Matthew Baker?
Sort of, yes, sir.
Sort of?
We were promoted less than 20 days apart. Quarantine seemed so minor next to what happened in St. Sauveur.
And your first objective as a sergeant was taking St. Sauveur?
Yes, sir.
How did the drop go?
Let's get the hell out of here! Jump, sir! We wait for the green light! We wait any longer, there won't be a fucking green light! Baker! Stand in the door!
Rocky. There was so much smoke and fire, we didn't even see Musa.
Musa?
He was the last in the stick. Took a piece of flak in the chest. He was dead before we even noticed he was on the floor. We just left him in the plane. Can we talk about something else, sir?
All right. Tell me what happened after you landed in Normandy.
It wasn't the smoothest jump ever. I was picking branches out of my ass for a day or so afterward.
Who did you link up with first?
There was a guy from 82nd I found nearby, Doyle. He took out the German who was trying to kill me. Then we found Paddock from 2nd. Well, my squad after that. It was just the 3 of us at first. Then we found Cole.
Lieutenant Colonel Robert Cole?
Yes, sir. Hell of a soldier. Loved to use the Lord's name in vain, though. My wife really hates that.
Das kann nicht wahr sein! Das kann nicht... Scheiße! Scheiße!
Sorry about that first shot. Thank me for the second one later. For now, I guess it's just you and me. Better get your rifle out of your leg bag so we can get moving.
Sind in Bewegung! Achtung, Feindbewegung! Shit! Ah!
Corporal, we gotta find whoever we can. I saw a farmhouse nearby on the way down. I'll follow you.
You should see the look on y'all's faces.
Did you forget the password?
No, I remembered. Flash answered by thunder and all that. I could see plain as day it was Red from 3rd Squad.
Could have shot you.
Well, damn good thing you didn't, right? Shit, I'd have been mighty ticked off.
We should keep moving.
Well, I ain't yelling Flash. So what are we doing, guys?
Let's go! Double time! Watch the front! Run it! Get down, man! Shit! They're still coming! Oh, fire! Take down those firing fire! This is Red! Suppress! Assault! Taking fire! Down! Took down another. Bring it in!
Flash. Thunder! See? I can do it.
Get your asses over here, boys!
Where are you paratroopers from?
Kansas, sir.
He means what unit?
Oh, 101st, F Company. I'm 2nd Squad. He's 3rd.
I'm 82nd. Can't seem to find anyone from my unit.
Well, son, that don't matter now. You stick with me. We're headed towards the battery.
Sir, I hear horses coming down the road.
Shut the hell up and stay quiet.
Did he say horses?
Shit, sir! I think they saw me!
All right, you take the road and I'll flank.
Were you scared?
That was the first time in the war I got the impression I was about to die.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. Something about the horses, maybe. I've had bad experiences with horses.
Got it, Red! Titan formation! Let's go! Suppress! Pour it on there! Taking fire! Go out! Fire! This shit's shitless! There! Put some fire there! Fire picking up here! Fire! Rally! Got it!
Die Amis fahren uns die Flanke Mist. Ich hab's erwischt.
Took down another! Kill him! Cease fire! There's no more!
About time I found some more men. There's an abandoned gun battery not far from here, just outside of St. Martin. I'm setting up CP in a farmhouse there, so you men stick with me. We've got a lot of work to do.
Samuel Lyman Atwood Marshall was a soldier, war correspondent, historian, and military theorist. He observed, studied, and recorded the actions of combat in some of the most dramatic conflicts of the 20th century. S.L.A. Marshall, or Slam as he was called by his close friends, lived a lifetime that spanned 4 of America's wartime periods: World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Marshall participated to some degree in each of these wars. He wrote extensively about combat at the tactical level. He published 30 books and numerous papers and articles. Here is one of them. This narrative was begun on 11 July 1944, and the last work was done on 29 July, at which time the HO began work on 82nd's operation. The narrative is not complete, as much was done as was possible in the time available, the HO getting no assistance in the work. The notes do cover, in main, the principal operations of the parachute regiments, including the drop and assembly details of most of the chief elements. Other groups were passed up. So too was the work in detail of the glider units, engineers, artillery, medical corps, and others. There is nothing here about planning and preparation. The reasons are obvious. Some of this material may be recovered later on. With the support of General Taylor, and with the unreserved help and even the enthusiasm of his unit commanders, we undertook these researches principally to find out what happens to parachute battalions in the course of collecting for battle. The battalion commanders themselves wanted to know. At the conclusion of 2 weeks of this work, it seemed perfectly clear that there is more to be learned in small unit action from the study of a parachute battalion during any 72 hours than from an average line battalion in a month of fighting. Signed S.L.A. Marshall. Marshall's writings are largely based on group after-action reviews he conducted shortly after a battle. Marshall would assemble a squad, platoon, or company and chronologically trace the military action that the participants had experienced. Marshall wrote extensively about the 101st Airborne Division during World War II and interviewed many of the paratroopers and soldiers on both sides of the battles for Normandy, Holland, the Battle of the Bulge, and the Battle for Germany. Here we see a picture of S.L.A. Marshall compared to how he was recreated for Brothers in Arms Earned in Blood.
The most critical objective was assigned to Lieutenant Colonel Steve Chapuis and his 2nd Battalion.
They had to destroy the German artillery battery at St. Martin de Varville. If the invasion was going to succeed, those guns had to be knocked out.
The 3rd Battalion, under Lieutenant Colonel Robert Cole, was to back up Chapuis at the artillery battery and then move a half-mile northeast to secure 2 exit causeways coming off of Utah Beach. Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Cassidy and the 1st Battalion were to seize a complex of barracks that housed German troops who manned the artillery battery.
The soldiers were all stationed in a series of houses that became known as the XYZ complex. And those soldiers had to be killed or captured.
Cassidy also had a 2nd objective, just over a mile from the XYZ barracks. He had to secure Foucaultville, a small town on the northern flank of the Invasion Beach.
This page of the official after-action report covers the paratroopers' confrontation with a German convoy in the pre-dawn hours of D-Day. Lieutenant Colonel Cole led a mixed group of paratroopers from the 101st and the 82nd towards his objective. Along the way, they ran into a German convoy, and the ensuing action became a bit of a legend amongst the paratroopers in both divisions. The party mentioned in this section of the AAR is the first ever recorded and possibly the most famous example of a phenomenon soldiers have referred to ever since as little groups of paratroopers. After scattering from a drop, the LGOPs were mixed men of different companies, regiments, and even different divisions, yet they gathered together and pressed on the objective of the ranking officer of the group, in this case, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Cole. They found a road going northeast and traveled on that for about half an hour, running into Captain Clements and Lieutenant Barrett S3 at one of the road junctions. Next, the party was joined by Captain Raymond T. Smith, commander of HQ Company, 3rd, Major Cinder, Regimental S3, and a few men. The party gradually swelled. Other reports of this fight from veterans who were there tend to bring with them a more glorious description of the action than what S.L.A. Marshall writes in the AAR. The story of Cole's group intercepting the German carts grew to become a legend amongst the paratroopers in the area, to the point where Dick Winters references the event in his personal account of his experiences jumping into Normandy on D-Day. They walked on a while and heard some wagons coming down the road. Someone yelled, "Halt!" The first of the Germans stood up in the cart, fired a few rounds, and jumped out running. There were 4 or 5 carts in the convoy. Their teammates took to the ditches, and Cole's men prodded them out, killing a few and capturing 10. Cinder and Vaughn were told to get the carts emptied. They were loaded with mines and some leather goods. Cole wanted them to collect the bundled supply. Cole figured he was at the correct point, but he moved off the right looking for a chapel, which should be there, and finally finding that checkpoint. An MG was firing loosely over his head as he made this approach. He then went on back to his men, and finding the wagon still full, raised hell about it. Vaughn had been sent up the road to scout for more wagons. One of the men came back and said he was dead. Some of the Germans had taken an MG from the last cart, set it up in a ditch, and plugged him as he came by. Cole sent an officer out to check. He found Vaughn's body, and next to him, a couple of enemies dead.
Here I was 19 years old and I saw this plane come over. The pilot evidently gave the signal to jump, and he was going way too fast and he was way too low, and I could see the shadowy figures coming out. The chutes were pulling out of the pack train or hitting the ground. They were all killed.
Of the 6,670 paratroopers of the 101st who dropped that night, roughly 1,500 were either killed or captured. The Air Corps lost 38 planes to German flak.
Here, lead programmer Patrick Dupree models a suit of authentic U.S. Army paratrooper gear that was purchased by Gearbox to help the team authentically recreate the equipment and how it was carried by the soldiers. On D-Day, fortunate paratroopers carried an average of 70 to 90 pounds of equipment. Unfortunately, paratroopers stored much of their equipment in leg bags that were consistently lost in the jump. Dropping behind enemy lines into unknown territory, paratroopers needed to be prepared for any conditions or situation they might encounter. The standard D-Day paratrooper loadout included rifle, bayonet, ammunition, explosives, water, knives, rations, gas mask, mess kit, compass, rope, bandages, hygiene kit, wire cutters, and personal items.
Charms, candy, powder, coffee, sugar, matches, compass, bayonet, entrenching tool, ammunition, gas mask, reset bag with ammo, my webbing, my 45, canteen, 2 cartons of smokes, Hawkins mine, 2 grenades, smoke grenade, gamma grenade, TNT, this bullshit, and a pair of nasty skivvies.
Most of these items were carried in pouches attached to the paratrooper uniform.
No, this stuff weighs as much as I do. I still got my chute, my reserve chute, my May West, my M1. Where you keeping your brass knuckles? I can use some brass knuckles.
Here is the fully loaded reference model that was used during the creation of Brothers in Arms Earned in Blood. During the jump sequences in the game, if you look closely, you'll notice that most of the troopers in the plane also have a leg bag which carried their primary weapons, explosives, and other equipment. Most soldiers lost the leg bags in the jump.
I started wandering around, and the first man I came across was Colonel Cassidy. His words to me, "Belfry, where are we?" And I said, "Colonel, how in the hell do I know? I just got here."
Lieutenant Colonel Cassidy was actually better off than his fellow commanders. He landed near the regiment's designated drop zone, which was close to San Martin de Varville.
Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Cassidy was the commander of the 1st Battalion, 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division during the D-Day Normandy invasion. His nickname, Hop-Along, was borrowed from the name of a cowboy movie star who was famous in the 1930s and 1940s. On D-Day alone, Cassidy's soldiers took the German artillery garrison near Objective XYZ, established key roadblocks at Fouquerville, and secured exits 3 and 4 of Utah Beach. This hand-drawn map defines Cassidy's area of activity on D-Day. Here, Cassidy stands with 502nd PIR 3rd Battalion Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Steve Chapuis. In the official history, Army historian S.L.A. Marshall wrote that Cassidy's battalion did the one best job for America on D-Day. Marshall's after-action reports place Lieutenant Colonel Cassidy in the same action our fictional character Corporal Hartsock experiences on D-Day in Brothers in Arms Earned in Blood.
We were all mixed up. 501 guys, 506 guys, 502 guys, some 82nd guys. We made our own little army, you might say.
During World War II, the 101st Airborne Division led the way on D-Day in the night drop prior to the invasion. On June 5, 1944, the division prepared for its first combat operation, the Airborne Invasion of Normandy. The 101st would drop 6,700 soldiers behind enemy lines to disrupt the Germans before the massive Allied beach assault on the coast of Normandy. The paratroopers of the 101st Airborne were lightly armed. They parachuted or flew in by gliders. The gliders were the only means to carry heavy equipment such as jeeps and anti-tank cannons. Once on the ground, the paratroopers served as light infantry and had to fight with the weapons they could carry. The plan of the 101st Airborne Division in the D-Day operation was to knock out the German artillery that could fire on Utah Beach, seize the exits to Utah Beach to support the amphibious landing by the 4th Infantry Division, and block any German counterattacks. The 101st accomplished every mission and was subsequently ordered to seize the vital town of Carentan. Pictured above, a 101st Airborne Division anti-tank gun is towed by a jeep through the streets of Carentan, France. Carentan was critical as it linked Utah Beach in the west and Omaha Beach in the east. The 101st took Carentan on June 12 and then held it against furious German counterattacks at Hill 30. After this battle, the 101st helped to secure the Cotentin Peninsula. Pictured above is a 101st Airborne Division anti-tank gun outside the town of Carentan, France. The knocked-out German Stug behind the anti-tank gun was from the 17th SS Panzer Grenadier Division that counterattacked the 101st at Hill 30. 1 month after jumping into Europe, when the 101st's mission in Normandy was complete, 1 in 4 men had been killed or wounded. In early July 1944, the 101st Airborne Division finally returned to England to prepare for subsequent airborne operations. The Screaming Eagles of the 101st have a proud heritage that was born in the struggle to free France on D-Day, June 6, 1944. Today, they continue that proud heritage and remember the courage and commitment of the veterans of World War II.